Yashodanandana Brajajanuranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanuranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachadi Yamuna Tira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajanuranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanuranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachadi Yamuna Tira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Harivedikacharya Astatara Sattasi Srimadhis Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Gaur Premanandi. That sound is the air conditioner, right? I don't think we want to lose the air conditioner. It's going to make the recording sound a little different. But that's okay. So we're continuing. Nice to see you. Hare Krishna. -91-degree temperature. A little different. Continuing with Canto 10, Chapter 8, where Mother Jasoda, the verse that we read yesterday, Mother Jasoda had concluded that she couldn't understand what just happened. By looking inside in Krishna's mouth to see if it had eaten dirt, and instead of seeing he had eaten dirt, she saw what she saw. She saw the universe, not exactly, it doesn't say the universal form, but she saw the universe and all of the different components that make up a universe, including the elements, even including the subtle elements in mind, intelligence, and false ego, and things that are not physically visible, but she saw them in their personified forms. And then, after seeing what she saw, she began to consider what just happened. We discussed 2 days ago that she considered, maybe I'm dreaming, and she ruled that out. Maybe it's a display of the Maya, of the demigods, Deva Maya, and she ruled that out. She's not worthy of the devas paying any attention to her, so why would they bother showing something? Then she thought maybe she's just deranged, and that was ruled out. And then the last one, the fourth consideration, was maybe it's the Supreme Lord's potencies acting through my son, like Gargamuni said would happen. And she wasn't so sure about that either. And then, not knowing what really was the answer, she turned to the personality of Godhead, Narayan, and started offering prayers to him, describing characteristics of Lord Narayan, and then in the first 3 verses, and then concluding, please protect my son. Her motherly spirit is now in charge of her faculties. So, unfortunately, didn't bring my reading glasses. Okay, so text 42, Canto 10, Chapter 8. It is by the influence of the Supreme Lord's Maya that I am wrongly thinking that Nanda Maharaj is my husband, that Krishna is my son, and that because I am the queen of Nanda Maharaj, all the wealth of cows and calves are my possessions, and all the cowherd men and their wives are my subjects. Actually, I am eternally subordinate to the Supreme Lord. He is my ultimate shelter. So her Vaishnavi spirit is now back in charge. And here's Srila Prabhupada's purport. Following in the footsteps of Mother Yashoda, everyone should follow this mentality of renunciation. Whatever wealth, opulence, or whatever else we may possess belongs not to us, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the ultimate shelter of everyone and the ultimate owner of everything. As stated by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 5:29. Who knows the verse? 5:29. Very good. That's right. And the translation that Prabhupada gave here is, the sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. It's a little different than the Bhagavad Gita translation. Paragraph. We should not be proud of our possessions. As expressed by Mother Yashoda herein, quote, I am not the owner of possessions, the opulent wife of Nanda Maharaj. The estate, the possessions, the cows and calves, and the subjects like the gopis and cowherd men are all given to me. One should give up thinking of, quote, my possessions, my son, and my husband, quoting, well, see if you know where this one is. Janashimoho yam aham mameti. Janashimoho yam aham mameti. Aham mameti. Where is that from? Janashimoho yam aham mameti. 558. What's Canto 5, Chapter 5? Who's speaking? Rishabdeva is instructing his sons. That's the section. Nothing belongs to anyone but the Supreme Lord. Only because of illusion do we wrongly think I'm existing or everything belongs to me. That's aham and mama. Thus, Mother Yashoda completely surrendered unto the Supreme Lord. For the moment, she was disappointed, thinking, my endeavors to protect my son by charity and other auspicious activities are useless. The Supreme Lord has given me many things, but unless He takes charge of everything, there is no assurance of protection. I must therefore ultimately seek shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then he quotes Prahlad Maharaj, Canto 7, Chapter 9. Balasya neha sharanam pitaram nishringha. Pitarao nishringha. That translation, a father and mother cannot ultimately take care of their children. And then back to 5th canto, Ato grihakshetra sutapta vittayar janashyamoho yamahamameti. That's the whole phrase. Above it was just janashyamoho yamahamameti. And then he goes back to that same verse, Ato grihakshetra sutapta vittayar janashyamoho yamahamameti. One's land, home, wealth, and all of one's possessions belong to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although we wrongly think, I am this and these things are mine. This aham mameti, or aham and mama, it goes way back to Canto 2, and it appears again and again. So the philosophy of the misconception of self, identifying the self as the covering of the self, aham, through false ego, leads to its companion or corollary function, which is mine. Things, since I'm this body, what's mine is things in relation to this body. And everything in relation to one's body, that's mine. And one becomes busy making other things in relation to this body, just acting through false ego. So this aham and mama, or aham mameti, is very strong material principle. Very strong material principle. So the Bhagavatam advises to give it up, and there are different places. So Prahlad's teachings, Rishabh's teachings, now Mother Yashoda's words, demonstrating letting go of those two misconceptions and accepting instead. There's a ringback in this. Can you hear the ringback? I can hear a ringback. Can you see if you can fix it? Can you hear the ringback? You understand what I'm saying? Okay, I'll keep speaking so you can judge. So now I'm going to continue reading Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, where he writes, quote, The Lord is my son's maintainer and protector. If that is so, then what is the use of my ignorant concept of I and mine? Unquote. Giving up her false conceptions and surrendering to the Lord, Yashoda speaks, quote, I think that I am the protector of Nanda's wealth. I think I am the queen of all the cowherd men and women and the cows. I think I am the mother of this child who is the life of the residents of Braja. I am his nourisher, and by worship of the Devas and Brahmanas, through meditation and charities, by daily worship of Vishnu, I by myself can give protection to my son. This is all misconception. As all of Braja's wealth is given by the mercy of Vishnu, I should not be proud. Similarly, since by Vishnu's mercy the child was protected at every moment from the demons like Putana, I should not think that I, as a mother among the common cowherds with impure sentiments, am his protector. Unquote. Interesting comment here. This type of logic is temporary, not permanent in Yashoda. It is similar to the temporary desire of the confirmed materialist to give up his wife and family because of some temporary spiritual urge. Get the comparison? As the materialist may get a spike in, well, I want to be more spiritual, so let me renounce things. So her nature, in comparison, her nature is completely attached to Krishna and completely attached to Braja and completely attached in a spontaneous, loving way to everything in relation to her life as Mother Jasoda. So let me give it up. It's likened to someone who has a surge of spiritual interest, although their nature is they're a materialist. That kind of renunciation. Jiva Goswami writes, therefore I surrender to him. Paragraph. Examining her external conditions, she strengthens her belief about her natural position in 3 lines that's of what she spoke. And then the 4th line of what she spoke, she examines her internal position and in fear surrenders to the Lord. Quote, I see my son as high or low because of my bad intelligence. Ku matihi. Caused by the Lord's inconceivable maya. Therefore, I should surrender to him since I have no bhakti. Or, if I am in illusion, I must surrender to him. All her words, by astonishment and other emotions, simply nourish her prema, just as everything turns salty by being in the ocean. Very interesting comparison. So the purpose, one of the primary purposes of Krishna doing anything is to increase the affection of his devotees. So with Mother Yashoda, we heard, this is review, Krishna has a spiritual form which is all spiritual. It's his Swarup Shakti has all spiritual potencies. And those potencies, they're just waiting for some service opportunity. Now in some cases, like one case we can recall easily is when the 7th child of Devaki was within the womb of Devaki, Krishna summoned Yogamaya. She came, he gave her some instruction, some service, she went and did it. So some cases Krishna directly, explicitly calls for a potency of his to do something. And there are circumstances where they're just waiting, anticipating what does Krishna want? And then because they're his potencies, they go into action to do what Krishna wants. We had this lengthy description in the morning class about Maya can mean different things. And ultimately it means his internal potency, Yogamaya, and there's the shadow of Yogamaya, that's Mahamaya, but even just using the word Maya, it's his internal potency. We heard there's 3 divisions, Maya, Yogamaya, and Ichha Shakti. The Ichha means his desire. So what did Krishna, one of Krishna's desires was to increase the affection of Mother Yasoda, to strengthen the prema of the already over-the-top, unlimited prema of Yashoda. So he did it through this pastime by the secondary rasa of astonishment. So it spiked her prema towards her son and towards the personality of Godhead, who she's not thinking as her son, although he showed it. So the last sentence, all her words, by astonishment and other emotions, simply nourish her prema, just as everything turns salty by being in the ocean. And here's Jiva Goswami's commentary. All her knowledge has been created by the Lord's Maya. After confirming his powers, the first 3 verses, she surrendered to the Lord to destroy her illusion. Considering the real truth, all relationships are temporary. Understanding these relationships were false, she indicated her foolish intelligence, kumati. Rejecting the 3 options stated with a dream, starting with a dream. So this is going back 2 verses. What's the cause of this? Is it a dream? And then so she rejected the first 3. She accepted the 4th, but then to destroy that idea, she surrendered to the Lord of the universe. By directly perceiving relations, the first 3 options, namely dream, Devata's illusion, and bewilderment of intelligence, are discarded. Thinking him to be the Supreme Lord with the universe within him, the 4th option, is also illusion. That is my bad thought, kumati. The Lord is my goal. The Lord should remove this bad thought and confirm that Krishna is my son. And the final is Jiva Goswami in Krama Sandarbha writes, by the Lord's Maya, I think that my son is the universal form. That's what she saw inside his mouth. So there's many things to appreciate. One of them is the pastimes of Krishna are very sweet. Little children can hear them, remember them, appreciate them, and by that very simple act, it's very powerful force of bhakti. Just thinking of Krishna's pastimes, remembering them, reciting them, and so forth. And as those meditations grow, and as when Krishna consciousness grows, there's deeper understanding and meaning and activity going on besides very sweet pastimes. We're through the agency of our acharyas, we're getting to understand more about Krishna and more about Krishna's devotees. That is, the nature of Krishna is he simply want to see his devotees happy. And even that experience of happiness, transcendental happiness, may, on some occasions, look like distress. To a materialist, it looks like distress. Like somebody asked, was the astonishment of Mother Jasoda happy or sad? She was just, it wasn't exactly happy, but it was ecstatic. I mean, what would it be like if we looked inside someone's mouth and we saw the universe? Not exactly happy or sad. It's astonishment. It's another emotion, and that other emotion, astonishment, is what Krishna was intending, or what the potencies of Krishna were intending. Because the intent, or the intention of Krishna, is to stimulate and increase the love of his devotees. Going back to Canto 1, Chapter 1, there's 6 questions. And one of the questions asked by the sages is, when the Supreme Lord appears in this world, what is his purpose? One of the 6 questions. And of course, the answer comes in Chapter 2 of Canto 1. But there's what's specifically said is he comes to reclaim the souls in the mode of goodness. Now, there's other purposes, that is, to attract the hearts and the minds of the conditioned souls who aren't in the mode of goodness. So if Krishna is interested in doing that with those in the mode of goodness, what does it look like, or what does it feel like when persons in the mode of goodness hear about Krishna's mysterious pastimes? Especially with the assistance of our acharyas, they'll understand, even if without the assistance of the acharyas, they'll understand there's something very special going on here with Krishna and his devotees, and especially Krishna's pastimes with his devotees in Vrindavan. But we're recommended, before going to Krishna's pastimes with the residents in Vrindavan, to become a little familiar with Krishna's pastimes with the appearances of the Lord altogether, in addition to his pastimes in Vrindavan. That is to say, we'll better understand his pastimes in Vrindavan if we become sufficiently conversant with the Lord's pure devotees and his exchanges with them. Like, because there's 2 references here, with Prahlad. Prahlad says in his prayer to Lord Nrsingadev that you sent me to teach the world the way of pure devotion, unmixed devotion. And his mood is a Vaikuntha mood. His mood is not a Brijabasi mood. But to understand the Brijabasi mood, we need to, it's certainly helpful to understand the mood of Shuddha Bhakti. And so Shuddha Bhakti, that is overwhelmingly driven by intimacy and sweetness of love, it looks different. It looks different. I mean, when Lord Nrsingadev appeared, how did Prahlad respond? And when Mother Jasoda looked inside the mouth of Krishna, how did she respond? She couldn't leave from the position. She was stimulated by a display of opulence to ponder, who is he and how did this happen? But her mood of affection as a mother was so strong, it just displaced those other considerations. That's the mood of the residents of Vrindavan. And Krishna likes that. So Krishna may, in their case, stretch their mood a bit, and then it becomes very elastic, it comes right back. and they're enjoying, and he's enjoying. Together, they're enjoying pastimes of love. Sometimes Krishna is contemplating in his mood of divinity, and sometimes Krishna is not at all contemplating in his mood of divinity. We discussed this yesterday, like the Damodar Leela. When he was playing as a small child, doing what he was doing, he was into it. He was enjoying the mood of a small child stealing butter. He was enjoying the mood of his eyes darting here and there, looking, we might get caught stealing butter in the storeroom. And when Mother Yasoda came, he ran. And he wasn't playing his part in a script, a drama script. He was feeling fear. He enjoys feeling fear of Mother Yasoda, not fear of Kamsa or any of the demons that he killed. He's not feeling fear. Like when he faced Aristasura, he tightened his belt and slapped his arms, and he was ready to go. There's no fear. He's enjoying. He's enjoying. And he's reciprocating with Aristasura, and he's reciprocating with the gopis, and he's reciprocating with the gopas. And after killing Aristasura, he then goes to tell the gopis, good news. That bull demon that came into Vraja, he's dead. Thinking they would, yay, nice going. Well done, thank you. Instead, they say, you're sinful. You killed the bull. You have to atone for it. So it's just this unending flow of the way that Jiva Goswami expresses this in his commentary of Brahma Samhita. It's like a river. But by the sound vibration of mantra, or by the sound vibration of hearing a pastime, and maybe associated with the pastime is a painting of that Leela, it's like a snapshot, or one can visualize in one's mind, the mind's eye, the pastime, like the picture of the pastime. Mantra can do that. Hearing what we're hearing can do that. If there's rapt attention and absorption in the sound vibration, the potency is there to take us to that place, and we can see it. And then further maturity is that in Jiva Goswami's words, it's like a lake, and one can enter into the lake, a particular pastime. And it's kind of static, it's not fluid. But then the lake, you can enter into the lake, and it's formed by a river, and then enter into the river. And in the river, you can not only see the moving pastimes, you can participate in the moving pastimes. That's what Srimad Bhagavatam has the potency to do, and what our great acharyas are able to do is they can do that by their love for Srimad Bhagavatam, which means their love for Krishna. And the sound vibration is a form of Krishna, his literary form, and they can participate in Krishna's pastimes. Not only narrate the pastime, but participate in Krishna's pastime, which is pretty astounding. So we're far from there, but it's just by hearing, then who is Krishna can slowly, very slowly Krishna can be understood. The coverings of illusion or forgetfulness of Krishna and misconceptions of Krishna can be removed and replaced with the awakened proper conception just through sound. I'll end with just this one thing. Some in Canto, I think it's Canto 3, Chapter 26. That's the Sankhya section. There's a description that before there's space, there's sound. Because sound is carried in ether. But which comes first, the sound or the ether that carries the sound? According to Canto 3, Chapter 26, there's sound, and the sound manifests ether. And then from ether, because that's the most subtle element, then the other elements unfold. But the first, this is, going back to Mahavishnu's glance and all of that. And by the glance of Mahavishnu with the living entities and the time energy, then Pradhan, which is the dormant totality of the material energy or undifferentiated totality of the material energy, it becomes transformed as Mahatattva. Then comes sound, then comes ether, and then comes, so before we even, the primordial event of material existence is material sound. And from that material sound comes the whole shebang. The whole material substance, and then Brahma's act of creating, and then we get life today. After some time, we get life today. So, likewise, it's spiritual sound that carries us back to original position, the uncovered, uncontaminated position. It's hearing exactly what we're doing in our devotional lives, particularly right now, is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. It has the potency to carry us back to our awakened state of original consciousness, because we've been hearing lots of material sound. And we're accustomed, because of so much hearing material sound, when we hear spiritual sound, to think of it as a material sound. To analyze Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and the holy name and so forth. That's why it's distracting. The mind is distracted when we're chanting, because it doesn't, there's no sense gratification involved. Material sense gratification. So the mind is searching for, through the senses, for material enjoyment. It is not a material enjoyment activity. It's a determination of material enjoyment tendency. Bhaktisiddhanta, someone forwarded to me something that Bhaktisiddhanta writes in his commentary on one of the 11th canto, early chapter verses, about Krishna's pastimes. Maybe I could open my phone up and read it exactly, but it says something like this. Bhaktisiddhanta writes that Krishna performs his worldly pastimes, his prakat lila, identical with his aprakat lila, but in such a way that persons that have material conceptions of things can get easily absorbed because it looks like something that's they're familiar with from their material experience. But it's not material activity, and it's not a material sound vibration, but it allows for living entities to hear and become absorbed, and then spiritualizes their consciousness. It's an act of mercy of Krishna to do like that. Maybe I'll see if I can find the verse exactly. Well, I won't do it because it's distracting. We're conditioned souls, no surprise. And the bhakti process is meant for us, the sadhana bhakti process is meant for us to become cleansed. And the 5 most potent things are there. The service to the devotees and chanting the holy name and worshipping the deity form of the Lord and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and residing in the holy Dham. And these things are so powerful, so potent, according to Rupa Goswami's teaching, that if any one of them is performed without offense, then that's powerful, sufficiently powerful to awaken Bhava Bhakti at once. Must be we're making offenses because Bhava Bhakti is not awakening at once. And to overcome those offenses, we strive to overcome offenses. We discussed this in class this morning. But also we go on with the hearing process steadily, regularly. Many devotees are sharing, the misfortune of coronavirus has its silver lining. Their sadhana is increasing. Their hearing of classes is increasing. I don't know if you're finding it, but I'm getting more things that people are forwarding to me. This recorded class, that recorded that. There's so many recorded classes. It's just there's no time to hear them all. And so many of them are really fantastic. So it's an opportunity for the devotees. The misfortune is a fortune in increased hearing and chanting with absorption. Not like, we're hoping it just lasts longer because it's really good fortune. But for as long as it lasts, take advantage of the good fortune. And most devotees I know are doing that and finding, benefit, spiritual benefit. For me too, these morning and evening classes, just reading all these commentaries, 10th canto, 10th canto, 10th canto. There's a potency, and it's palpable. One devotee was sharing just one of the online questions answer session, that in the morning when he's chanting his japa, his mind is going to the pastime. And what he wanted to know, is that offensive? The hearing is meant to bring about remembrance, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So, but when chanting, don't let your mind go to so many other things. Stay with the holy name, but the holy name includes everything, including these wonderful pastimes. Everything is there. The purifying power is a gift that we're being invited into. And I hope you're experiencing, in the course of this visit, I hope you experience some purification and some curiosity to go more deeply into studying Prabhupada's books and Srimad Bhagavatam in particular. So let's see if there's some discussion. Our portable microphone is getting tuned up. There we go. Go ahead. You start, then she'll follow.
Okay. Maharaj, you mentioned that mind, because it doesn't get sense gratification during spiritual practice, it becomes agitated. And is that the correct understanding?
Yeah.
The one challenge I see, or one problem I face, is even chanting or doing arati, any devotional practice. When you do the same thing again and again, it becomes like a subconscious, monotonous activity. So many times I realize that after doing arati, did I even do the arati? Did I even offer flowers? So I get this kind of the routine mode feeling all the time, and I don't think my mind is there when doing the spiritual activity. So how do I, even though I'm doing spiritual activity like physically, but mind is not there, so I need some help.
Well, there's several things to say. When I get back, I'll send you an answer to that question. It's the little thing that I call mindfulness, because that's a popular, but mindlessness as opposed to, or mindfulness as opposed to mindlessness, just the mechanical. Bhaktisiddhanta provides a solution. So I'll send it to you. It has to do with the ear conquers the mind. And when the mind becomes conquered, then mindfulness becomes part of your life. I mean, your day to day, even whatever the things that you do regularly. Mindlessness, it's a, as you know, it's a trendy phrase, and people talk about it, and people try to practice it, but it doesn't stay because there's no shelter. So there has to be shelter, and then it can stay. So the shelter is, in short, the ear conquers the mind. Then the mind becomes fixed. And it can stay fixed because it's taken shelter. But the method of shelter is sound. And for us, in this age of Kali, it's the holy name. So I'll send you that. Another approach altogether is just, put it this phrase, from the heart. What does from the heart mean? And, there's this whole, what does from the heart mean presentation. But essentially it's what Rupa Goswami writes, the essence of bhakti is from the heart means from the place for the pleasure of Krishna. Anukulyena Krishna Rushilanam, for the pleasure of Krishna. That's the heart of bhakti, which is when you're not doing things mechanically, but you're doing them mindfully. You're doing them from the heart. So thank you for making the volume a little more. That is another answer to doing things mechanically because you do them. No, we get into the habit of doing things because they're recommended, and then they just become habit. we're not on the spontaneous bhakti platform. We're doing things spontaneous, out of habit, but the mind is absorbed in Krishna. That's not the problem. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he would do things on his daily routine with total ecstatic devotion. He's still engaged in external while he's engaged in loving absorption. That's not our problem. We're just distracted. See, because we're not doing from the heart. A third, someone, Janavi, the kirtan singer from UK, on the occasion of Mother Jamuna's birthday, which was the 19th of this month, she posted two things about her association with Mother Jamuna. And one of the comments, she goes like this kind of long description of her exchanges with her. But a comment that she makes is, she was on this platform that everything was with love for Krishna and Prabhupada. Like an example she gave was the prayer we say before taking prasadam. And she was making a joke about, from Gurukul days, she learned this Bengali, sing-along, and she would sing it along, but she never knew the meaning. See, there was not absorption. She was just, what you do before you take prasadam. Sharira Vijatal. But when it was with Jamuna, she would touch the hand of the persons that are with her, and from her heart, she would sing. And Janavi said, she never sang in the same way twice. Sometimes in a deep resonating voice, sometimes in a high voice, sometimes in a soul-filled voice. She was always, and there was no, okay, now it's time to meditate on a prayer. She was always in a state of meditation. So that's, we're not there. She was a very advanced devotee. Regulation, yes, but more importantly was the Krishna connection factor, the love for Prabhupada, and Prabhupada loved her, just like Krishna loves those who love him. Prabhupada loved her because of her love for him. And because of her love for him, because of his love for her, she loved him more. So it's understanding that Krishna is a person. And what we're doing is for the person. Now, certainly that's our philosophy, but we're not immersed in it. We can say the philosophy because we know the answers. But the bhakti principle, that's back to this Rupa Goswami from the heart, that Krishna should be pleased. And in all the things that we do, that's the essence that we're trying to cultivate when doing arti and whatever are the other things that when, saying Sharira Vijadal and everything else. That's the mindfulness. Even if it's in the regulative stage, the purpose of this regulation is that's bhakti. And it's so progress in bhakti, then it won't be just mindful. So that it's going to take a while that it goes beyond just regulation because we're covered. But what we want is to awaken for the pleasure of Krishna, purpose behind everything. Anything else?
Who has taken this Krishna Maharaj. I know somebody was taken this mindfulness step further with regards to chanting. They say, if I cannot do a round of chanting without being distracted, I do it again. And he said, that helps. But we cannot do arti twice, But I just thought of that when you said, I think, because I feel that too, I'm doing it mechanically. And this person I know recently said, with this mindfulness word floating around, he said, I've really taken that to heart and I chant my rounds again and again until I don't distract for even one, mantra.
It could take you all day.
Yes, he said it takes me a long time.
It could take all day. I mean, this little piece that I sent out, Bhaktisiddhanta's words are from a place of realization because he took a vow that when he was 31, he took a vow to chant so many names, and to do it, it took him 9 years, from morning until night, every day for 9 years, chanting 192 rounds a day, every day for 9 years. 192 rounds every day for 9 years. For 9 years, every day. So he knows what it means for the mind to be mindful, to be absorbed. And so any words that he says about how to, so I'll send this to you. You can forward it to others also. You have it. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Just to, if you can just explain a little bit more. I have read somewhere that Krishna has got, directly he doesn't do anything in this material world. It's all the energies that influence here. He's benevolent. He directly doesn't do anything in this material world. However, we are all in this material world and he is within us as Paramatma. So then how do you reconcile where you're trying to think that now Krishna has really nothing, like he may know what it is, but he directly doesn't do anything in the material world? Is that right, my understanding?
Prabhupada's example is the industrialist. He has factories with thousands of workers, and nothing happens in the factory without his say-so. And there he is off on the golf course, putting around on the green. He's not in the factory. Factories, plural. But that's a materialist that has some empowerment or powers, and his powers are working, even he's not physically present. So what to speak of Krishna, who's all-powerful, and the potencies only act under, like, Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti, just by his Adhyaksha. So he's seated within the heart, and he's Adhyaksha, he's seeing, he's the witness, but it's remote. He's not touching anything. It doesn't touch him. He's seeing, he's witnessing, but he's not directly contacting, and it's moving just by his seeing. And Upadrashta Anumanta, he permits. That's his Ichcha. He just says yes or no or whatever. And doesn't have to say it. It's part of him. It's part of his consciousness.
So we do see his reciprocation though, and we can feel like in many. So then, how does it? We are in this material world.
How what?
We do feel his Krishna's reciprocation, and we do see things moving around, like his hands in a lot of things.
Okay, so
So we are in this material world. Everything is moving in this material world, but it is coming with Krishna's influence too.
well, yes. So by influence is one thing. Direct contact is another thing. Look, how often do I come to Phoenix? Yet so much of what you do is dedicated to Guru and Krishna. Although I'm not here, there's influence through that relationship. So there's an eternal relationship with all living entities with Krishna. There's eternal fragmental parts and parcels. There's an eternal relationship. Even, rejecting, there is a relationship anyways.
I got it. Thank you.
Okay. The quiet one over here.
Hare Krishna. So I have one question. So the mind is focused when we are in temples or when we listen to the spiritual classes.
Good for you.
But when we engage in like material activities, so the focus is diluted. So how to keep the same level of focus all the time?
Same level of focus on Krishna all the time.
On the Krishna all the time.
Well, the answer is bhakti. That is, material can mean different things, but a very blunt definition of material is seeing Krishna not there. And spiritual is seeing Krishna there. If Krishna, so for example, a materialist, they see something, they see gold, and they see, oh, let me make it mine, and then I can use it for my happiness. And the devotee sees gold, and they say, oh, this is Krishna's energy, it should be used for Krishna's glorification somehow. Or a flower, or anything. So your activities that you're calling material activities, there's a way to spiritualize those activities. One of a starting entry point is yajna or sacrifice. But the higher platform than sacrifice is bhakti. It includes sacrifice, but it's a higher platform. And the higher platform is you go to your place of work, and the fellow there thinks he's your supervisor, and you think Krishna is my supervisor. And you're knowing that the man is thinking, I'm your supervisor, that you're supposed to please him, and I'm thinking I'm to please Krishna. Now, the Krishna connection, the signal may not be so strong, but it's there, because you know it's there. When there's faith that it's there. My existence is serving Krishna, including in the workplace. So you can spiritualize your work in the workplace. And a lot of that spiritualizing of your work in the workplace has to do with your hearing and chanting, which you said you get it in worship. So keep two things. Mamanusmara yudhyacha. Engage in your prescribed duty, and for Arjuna it's yudhya, fighting, and for you it's whatever it is, your prescribed duty. And always think of me. But so how do you always think of Krishna? So many ways. 10th canto, seeing things in nature and the superlative feature of them, right? Vibhuti Yoga. Arjuna says, please give me ways I can always think of you. Here's some ways you can always think of Krishna. But you'll only see those things in relation to Krishna if your hearing it starts with hearing. If your hearing has been done successfully, or effectively, then gradually, as the quality of your hearing becomes stronger, what happens is the attachment, the affinity for being the enjoyer of matter slackens, and the affinity for being in your relationship with Krishna matures. Another explanation is like a young boy and young girl and they have romance. No, he doesn't have to be told how he can always think of her, or she doesn't have to be told how to always think of him. They're always thinking of him and her because of the romance. So when there's attachment for Krishna, you'll always think of Krishna. We're not there yet. But the means to get there is through sound. And then the sound is to awaken a mood of service to Krishna. That's original consciousness in service to Krishna. When you're in service to Krishna, it's not material activity anymore. It's service to Krishna activity. That's a high consciousness. We're not there yet, but that's Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Just a little sharing on that line. Yesterday we were at the home of a family, husband and wife are doctors. So I said, what's it like, coronavirus? And he said, I see our profession is like soldiers. When you sign up for the military and there's a war, you go to war because that's what your job is. And you're risking your life when you go to war. So we're doctors. We're risking our life when we go to the hospital, go to the workplace. But that's what our job is. So now if the job is like, that's a duty, now supposing it's for Krishna, then you're in Krishna consciousness. Not just only, now that works for doctors, but it doesn't work for other professions. It works for anyone. It's a principle. But without awakening of do it for Krishna consciousness, then it'll be, the struggle, even you're doing devotional activity, what to speak of, the occupational portion of your life. Okay, we're ready for some online questions. Wait till the microphone comes over to you. And read slowly, please. And don't read, at the beginning, thank you very much, Prabhupada Maharaj, for a nice class. Leave all that stuff out. Okay?
How can we help obstacles from shaking our faith?
How can we help?
How can we help obstacles from shaking our faith?
How can we help obstacles from shaking our faith? Well, good association, that is associating with persons whose faith is matured, and association with such persons means hearing from them and serving them. Surrender. One of the 6 limbs of surrender is Krishna is my protector. So, strengthen your sense of Krishna as my protector. That is, I should take shelter of Krishna because he's worthy of my taking shelter because he's all-powerful and he will protect me. So even when an obstacle comes or reversal comes or difficulty comes, it's a lesson or it's something that we can learn, because that's what the question is, how to help having obstacles not weaken our faith. When you're not in the midst of an obstacle, take deep shelter, not just wait till the obstacle comes and then run for shelter. Like there was someone forwarded this, whether it happened exactly this way. In Italy, there was a 90-year-old man that had coronavirus and he was in the hospital, and what got him through was there was a respirator. And it's expensive, so much currency every day, whatever they're euros, I guess, that they use in Italy. And so when he recovered, he was being sent home. They gave him the bill for the use of the respirator, and he started to cry. And the doctors were trying to console him. Well, don't cry. It's just a bill, and your life is saved. He said, "That's not why I'm crying." He said, I can pay the bill for the respirator, but what about all the years that I've been breathing and I haven't paid God for the ability to breathe? So in that case, the calamity brought about a realization of how precious it is to be able to breathe. When you can't breathe, you value breathing more than when you can easily breathe. So it's something that can help us face calamities or obstacles and not have our faith shaken is develop strong faith even with things that are just we take for granted. Recognize what the good fortune we have with gratitude for all of what Krishna has provided us. And then when the obstacle comes and that same, whatever it is, gift that Krishna gave us, it can't be so easily accessed because there's an obstacle. Your faith will be strong because you've understood we're in Krishna's hands anyways. So let me take shelter of him.
Next question, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Could you please elaborate on the position of Mother Yashoda? She is not just a simple Vaishnavi, right? She is part of the Lord's internal potency. Is it proper to pray to her to receive her mood?
Yeah. She's not part of his internal potency exactly. That our acharyas teach there's Vishnu Tattva, Jiva Tattva, and Shakti Tattva. She's in the Shakti Tattva category. So yes, we can, because she's very merciful and benevolent. Like many people pray to Radharani, we can also pray to Mother Jasoda. She's an eternal associate. Very, very dear to Krishna, for sure.
Lord Krishna has shown.
Can you say who it's from? You don't know.
That's Prakash Govindan.
Okay.
That question was from Prakash Govindan.
Okay, fine.
The next question. Lord Krishna has shown Virat Rupa to his devotees like Arjuna and Yashoda Mata. Please enlighten us if we have similar Virat Rupa in other incarnations like Rama Avatar.
I just recently came across an explanation where the answer to that question is yes. And it's in a previous yuga cycle, but the answer to that question is yes. And I don't have the reference to the tip of my tongue or in the front of my memory, but yes, Rama has shown. So it's not from Valmiki Ramayana, it's another yuga cycle when he appears.
Next question, Maharaj. I heard that all souls in Kingdom of God, Vaikuntha, are Satchitananda Vigraha. But when we are reading SB 3.15.11, 3.15.11,
Okay.
there is bodily description. Could you please clarify?
Well, I'd have to look at the verse. So tomorrow evening, You send me the question, I'll look it up and we'll discuss, because I can't say off the top without looking at the verse. That's it. Yeah.
Today morning we discussed how Shri Vaishnavas understanding is slightly different than ours.
Yeah.
So I was later thinking, what is Ramadacharya's interpretation of Shri Vaishnava's interpretation of the Krishna Bhagavan Swayam verse? Because there it clearly says Krishna as the supreme, but their understanding is Krishna or is one of the Leela avatars of Mahavishnu.
So the verse was 3.15.11. It's really short. Maitreya said, this is to Vidura, thus Brahma, who is understood by transcendental vibration, tried to satisfy the demigods, being pleased with their words of prayer. And purport is 2 sentences. Brahma could understand the misdeeds of Diti, and therefore he smiled at the whole situation. He replied to the demigods present there in words they could understand. So this is Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu have been born. What to do? They're terrorizing the universe. So they went to Brahma, and so Brahma's hearing.
Maharaj, for the same question there is a correction here. It's 3.15.23.
23. Okay, it helps to have right numbers. So this is the description of the kingdom of God, chapter. It is very much regrettable that unfortunate people do not discuss the description of the Vaikuntha planets, but engage in topics which are unworthy to hear and which bewilder one's intelligence. Those who give up the topics of Vaikuntha and take to talk of the material world are thrown into the darkest region of ignorance. So what's the question again?
I heard that all souls in the kingdom of God Vaikuntha are Satchidananda Vigraha. But when we are reading SB 3.15.23, there is bodily description.
There is what kind?
Bodily description.
Why should there not be? There's spiritual form, Satchitananda Vigraha. Why should there not be Vigraha? It's not material bodies, it's spiritual bodies, spiritual form. So now, I don't know what their commentary is on that verse because their principal authority is something else. Their principal authority is Vishnu Purana and Padma Purana, and there isn't specific mention that I'm aware of, like there is in the Bhagavatam, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Rather, prior to that verse, the verse 6 through 27 speaks of avatars of Vishnu. So that's their position. Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu. So how they comment on that verse, I don't know. But that's not their principal authority. Perhaps, I don't, this is, perhaps, they read the Sanskrit differently than our acharyas read the Sanskrit. Jiva Goswami does the Jiva Goswami program. He takes word by word and goes through it backwards and forwards and up and down and sideways and backwards and forwards and up and down and sideways. Then finally, there's the grammatical use of terms leaves only one understanding. but they don't have the same rigor or the same intention or the same disposition. So they I'm guessing, if they have commentary, Sri Vaishnavas, on that verse, they'll read it in a way that can be technically correct, but not getting the essence of what that verse is conveying. That's a guess. Okay, we're done. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.